master strings. Image them lost control. They thought they had our minds, but now we're waking up. We're running out of time. The great awakening is happening. So be ready. Finally be strong in God and in His mighty power. We struggle not against flesh and blood, but against evil rulers and their dark powers. And so therefore put on the full armor of God, so when the day comes you can stand your ground. So stand firm, buckle up, buttercup. This is the final hour. Learn to read the map, learn to spot the signs. You look between the cracks, connect all the lines. We are sheep no more, the calm before the storm. Let's cut the puppet master strings. Image them lost control. They thought they had our minds, but now we're waking up. We're running out of time. The great awakening is happening. So be ready. So be ready. La 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 la. Take a meme, leave a meme. This is how anons pass our ammo. We're done with the mainstream. The brainwashed lost all its camo. Can't you see they're panicking? Information warfare, silencing, censoring. But hey, that's kind of why we're here. That's stop what is coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. I can see people waking from their dreams. Like a bite on their neck, their body rejects soul snatching disease. Everything in society starts to fold. You're watching history of humanity, so you gotta be brave and be bold. Nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop.
Mic check one, mic check one, mic check one.
Stop what is coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. A ploy to divide us from within. Is that all that you got? We connected the dots. Corona and the
Mic check two, mic check two.
You thought we were asleep, but you were dead wrong. You don't understand, 'cause it's part of the plan. 'Cause where we go one, we go all. And nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing can stop. Yeah, nothing can stop what's coming. The Great
Hello friends, I hope all is well, everything is going good for everyone, and happy New Year's Eve. We are going into a new year, and it should be bringing a lot of interesting things, to say the least. Hopefully a new president, Donald J. Trump, for another term. Welcome, Dee. Welcome. Nice to see you. Today we're going to kind of cover some misconceptions regarding Q and the anons and how the mainstream media twists things to meet a narrative that they've already constructed. So the stream's just a second behind. I'm gonna confirm that everything's coming through. Just bear with me about one moment. Thank you guys. Okay, so ABCU has joined the Tor community. Be sure to subscribe on there. We're also live on DLive, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, all the major platforms. We're trying to make sure we are able to cover our backs when the censorship really starts to come down on us, which I think will be sooner than later. Sorry if there's a little bit of feedback, guys. I'm just confirming my audio with the stream delay. It's taking a second. Okay, wonderful. I'm hearing it. Thank you. We're about a minute behind on the YouTube. So without further ado, I guess we should really just kind of get into this. Today we're talking about Q, what it means to us, what the mainstream media says it is, and what the truth about Q is. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions. There's more lies than facts regarding Q if you try to look at it from the outside as an observer. Reminder to question everything. This is a big part of the Q movement. Don't forget that we are what makes the Q movement important. This is a reminder of who's in control. You know, the AP, CBS News, CNN, NBC, ABC. These are the arbiters of truth, and they will remind you daily. We've got a quote from Sergeant B before we start this off. Sometimes fiction can have as much impact as truth, so much so that many truths have been portrayed as fiction. You will not even believe the truth, even if it was undeniably presented to you. This is how you know they won and you have lost all freedoms. The road to truth will be painful. So just be prepared, friends. You know, the road ahead is long, but it's not bad. Just something to remember. Without further ado, let's start getting into the question. So wonderful. We're going to start off today with listening to a clip from NPR that kind of sums up what most outside observers would think about Q. I know a lot of us don't like listening to the leftist media and things like that. So let's just get it out of the way so that we could start listening to things we like. I'm gonna close all that out, pull up the Firefox. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna start this off here and mute myself so you could hear it real well.
There's evidence that conspiracy theories are becoming more and more mainstream in American society. That's according to a new NPR Ipsos poll out today. The poll gave people a sort of test to see if they could spot misinformation, like the coronavirus was created in a lab or that voter fraud helped Joe Biden win the 2020 election. And a lot of people failed. NPR's Joel Rose joins me now with the details. Hello.
Hey, Layla.
So let's start with the coronavirus. There's a lot of misinformation out there, from full-on COVID denial to people thinking it's just a flu. What did the poll find?
This is something that people said they were really worried about. 80% say they're concerned about the spread of false information, specifically around COVID and the vaccines. But at the same time, 40% of poll respondents believe one of the biggest conspiracy theories that's out there about the virus, that it was made in a lab in China. There is no evidence for this, and scientists say that the virus was transmitted to humans from another species. But I talked to people all over the country who responded to our poll, and they still believe this.
Yes, I think it was deliberately released by China. I think it was a deliberate act that was done.
They've intentionally set this off.
I guess you can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I am convinced that it's man-made.
That was John Costello of Huntsville, Alabama, Teresa Weir of Joliet, Illinois, and Shana Castro of New York City.
So one big source of misinformation has been the president, who continues to make baseless claims of a stolen election on Twitter and elsewhere. Can we tell how those claims are landing?
Well, our poll found that 1/3 of Americans believe that voter fraud helped Joe Biden win the election, despite the fact that courts and election officials have found no evidence of this. But right-wing media have been devoting hours and hours to exaggerated or debunked claims. Brooke Williams is a Republican voter from Oro Valley, Arizona, and she thinks President Trump rightfully won the election.
There's just too much information out there. I can't see how anybody is not thoroughly convinced that Biden was illegally elected.
Again, to be clear, there is no evidence that widespread fraud affected the outcome of the election. Still, Republicans in particular believe that there was. 2/3, according to our survey, and fewer than half of Republicans say they accept the outcome of the election.
What about this debunked QAnon conspiracy theory? A couple members of Congress are subscribers to this. How much buy-in is there to this theory based on the polls?
That's another number from our poll that really jumps out. We asked whether people believe that, quote, a group of Satan-worshiping elites who run a child sex ring are trying to control our politics and media, unquote, which is the false allegation at the heart of the QAnon conspiracy theory. Less than half of respondents were willing to rule that out. 17% said it was true. Another large group, more than 1/3, said they just don't know. I talked about this with Chris Jackson at Ipsos, which conducted the poll.
It's total bonkers. And yet, essentially half of Americans believe it is true or, think that maybe it's true. They don't really know, right? And I think that's terrifying that half of Americans sort of believe that that could be the case.
Another finding of this poll is that 39% of Americans believe another key tenet of QAnon, that there is a deep state that is working to undermine President Trump.
Wow, those numbers are jarring. But in this digital age, it feels like everyone is susceptible to misinformation. Were there any indicators of why a person might buy into one theory or another?
Pollsters tell us that people tend to believe misinformation that fits into their worldview. For instance, we asked about racial justice protests over the summer. Almost half of respondents believe that the majority were violent, when actually the vast majority of protests were peaceful. Poll respondents from all demographics got this one wrong consistently, but they were even more likely to get it wrong if they were a Republican who watches Fox News or reads conservative online outlets like Breitbart or the Daily Caller.
So, okay, all these people are buying into these theories. What's the big deal if people believe in something that's not true?
This misinformation, even if it is pure fantasy, can have real-world consequences. If people think the coronavirus is no more deadly than the seasonal flu, they may be less likely to wear masks or less likely to get the vaccines when they become available. And if people think there's widespread fraud in our elections, they probably don't think that the Biden administration is legitimate. They may be less likely to believe that their political opponents are acting in good faith and less likely to believe in democracy, period.
Wow. Joel Rose, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So this is what they're being told constantly by the mainstream media. Many would call it the left media or some other term. But the truth is the majority of the mainstream media agrees that QAnon is an issue. Okay, so like I was saying, there seems to be a divide between the people who actually understand what QAnon is standing for and there's also the misconception and the branding by the mainstream media of QAnon versus Q in the Anons, which is kind of a big deal. They've tried to brand it in a way that they think will give it a negative light. So that's something to focus on. But I'm going to pull up my notes here and just sort of see what the mainstream media's points seem to be, that it's a right-wing conspiracy theory, and that there's Satan worshipping elite, and that there's pedo rings in the Democratic Party, and that it plays a role, that Q plays a role in breeding anti-Semitism. So we're going to address those 4 points from the mainstream media regarding Republican versus Democrat. We'll start there with point number 1 regarding it is a right-wing conspiracy theory. So, actually, before we do that, let's look at this article right here. It is an exact replica of the NPR article that was released by NPR, and this is WBUR, which is an NPR affiliate, but they're repeating the exact same information that we just looked at on that previous page. So we've discussed this before. If you were on the show the other day listening, we spoke about how there are no parrots in the free press, that only the mainstream media parrots itself to reinforce narratives, that real press is full of dissent and revolutionary findings, not repeaters. So these most recent articles, which were published in the past couple days about QAnon, regarding what it's about, this one's from October. Those first 2 from NPR are from yesterday. So I tried to pick the most relevant topics and based on what they're currently saying. So if we look over here at the New York Times, I'm typically not one to talk up the New York Times, but they seem to have done slightly better job than the rest of actually trying to dig into what Q says and what the Anons actually do. Like here, they even say QAnon is an umbrella term rather than attributing QAnon to it. They also say that, we believe in things that are non-existent, such as the JFK assassination being mysterious, which is not a conspiracy at this point. There's lots of people who believe that there's something up with the JFK assassination. We released aerial phenomenon, whatever we're calling them now. And then 9/11 truthers, that's been a thing since 9/11. I don't think that it's a surprise that some people doubt 9/11. So at least they're actually diving into the things that Q actually talks about compared to others. They also go over how trip codes work, and then they give an example of a very cryptic drop to make it seem like every drop is cryptic to paint their narrative further. They try to bring in Pizzagate, which happened before QAnon in 2016. So even though they did a better job of trying to give you a more factual base, they're still painting the narrative of we are bad far-right individuals who believe in these conspiracy theories. So all of these articles that I have pulled up further reinforce what they have said about us. It's a conspiracy theory. We're all nut jobs. None of us know what we're talking about, according to them. I'm going to pop over to chat, see if anyone... Yeah, I agree, Miss B. About at least they're giving some real factual information. Each of these go into it, but before we get further into analyzing each of these articles, we're going to pop over to this page. It is qanon.pub for anyone wondering. I assume most of you are familiar with Q if you're watching me and you are involved in the ABCU 8 community or something similar. I think you might know about this page, but it is a searchable database of all the Q drops. So we're just going to start with number 1 that they always say, that it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. So let's just look up Republican. So if we start here and just look for Republicans, it's clear that just by the first 3 posts that pops up, that this isn't divided among left and right policies. So we're going to highlight them all so you can see them. So they're speaking about Republicans who have been charged with sex crimes. All of these posts refer to sex crimes by either Democrats or Republicans or people of influence within the Democrat or Republican parties. And this just shows that this is not a right versus left issue. There's 129 uses of Republican in here, but these first 4 all identify people on the left and right who are guilty of these crimes. And these 3 dots infer that there are even more. So it seems like they are choosing a side for us and not letting you, the observer of the Q movement, fully understand what's going on with the Q movement by subverting the narrative by saying it's a left versus right thing, when in fact Q doesn't have a political affiliation. His political affiliation would be Trump outsider, not right or left, and that's why people identified with him. That's why the movement identified with Trump. It's not the other way. You know, it's not just right versus left. You could see this very clearly. We can even search right here, right versus left versus right. We'll find it, left. There's a couple places where he says it's not left versus right. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's not political. It's basically good versus evil. Let's pull up my notes. I think I wrote this down. Okay. The goal of this is of the Q operation is to get regular people like me and you and anyone else out there who's listening to look at the world around them and ask, is this the world that we want to live in? Is there something that I could do to stop the evil that is in the world? And that is the easiest way I could try to sum up Q for you, to give you the truth. It's not about right versus left. Church versus state. You know, it's not these dividing lines that these people put up for us. It's about understanding that there is evil in the world, that there are bad people, and that all it takes is a good person doing nothing to let evil run rampant. It's a call to all the good people in the world to say, hey, look around you. This is affecting you. This is affecting your children. This is affecting future generations. And if you sit idly by and let it happen, we're not going to get more opportunities to take back our freedoms. Once the freedom's gone, it's really hard to earn it back. So So, brothers. So, one of the big themes in the Q drops is that we are united and we're together, and that the people have the power, and not the establishment, not the government, not the corporate oligarchs, not the Jeff Bezos of the world, not the Bill Gates of the world, that we, the people, joined together, have all the power. This is where I think he said it most clearly, and I'm going to read it to you real quick. It says, "This is more than party politics. This is about restoring old glory. This is about saving our land and our people from those who wish to harm us. This is about preserving our republic. This is about preserving our safety. This is about restoring our strength. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is about protecting our children. This is about saving America. We are all God's children. We are fathers. We are mothers. We are daughters. We are sons. We are brothers. We are sisters. We do not look at race. We do not look at skin color. We are united in these states of America. We are and will always be patriots. We must rise again. We must unite again. We must fight again for God and country. God bless America. Where we go one, we go all. You." This is what we all should be saying. Because exactly like I said, the media wants to portray it as a right versus left thing, a black versus white thing, a Semite versus non-Semite thing, a religion versus non-religious thing. And it is none of those. It is strictly about this section here. It's not party politics. It's about restoring old glory. And if you understood what the flag meant to our creators of our great country, how many people died to hoist our flag high? It's amazing. And we, the average people, sit idly by and toil our fingers and say, "Oh, the government, mommy, daddy will fix it. They'll fix it." Our forefathers didn't ask for their governments to fix it. We rebelled because our governments were oppressive, were not steadfast at our side. So this is about restoring the republic. It's not left versus right. It's not me versus you. And the more we could get this out and let people know that Q isn't about these things, it's about uniting to protect America more so than anything. So that kind of covers the left versus right, the slants they put on it regarding that it's just a right-wing conspiracy. It encompasses anyone in America whose freedoms are at risk by the powers that be, which is everyone. Because the individual is the biggest minority in the world. And they're taking your individual rights away every day. Slowly but surely, they are removing your rights to think, speak, gather, practice your religion. All that is enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution is what they want to destroy. And moving on to, they say that Q followers believe that there's a Satan worshipping elite. So we're just going to use this handy tool again and look up Satan and see how many times he appears in these posts. Let's make sure we got them all. It appears that there's a total of 6 posts with the word Satan in it. And the word Satan will encompass satanic, Satan. I'm just going to do it in lowercase to make sure, no space. 10 posts total. I didn't want to mislead you. I knew there should have been more. So there's 10 posts total. Let's use this search feature and highlight them for you, Satan. So there's a total of 15 words that match Satan. One of them I typed. This one here is a link regarding Breitbart in the Church of Satan. So this has nothing to do with us believing anything about Satanism ruling anything. This is a copy of someone else's letter where they mention Satan. So that's not even Q because it's from someone else. Another link to a title of an article with the word Satan. This, I would say, is the biggest pointer to maybe saying from the mainstream media that we believe that things are ruled by a satanic cabal, is that Satan has left the White House here. But you would have to really understand the context. If you see these answers here, it really doesn't explain it that well for the common folk. You have to know a lot about Q. But it's basically saying that the White House is clear of evil. It's more metaphorical than exact. It means that the light has been shined on the dark. Let's continue down. It asks, does Satan exist? Does the thought of Satan exist? And who worships Satan? It's not telling you that all your rulers are Satanists. And then here, this one where it says the New World Order worships Satan, this is a direct quote from Vladimir Putin. These aren't Q's words. They're attributing someone else's words to Q, which seems to be a common theme by the mainstream media of attributing what small groups of people say to the majority of the followers, which is racism. When you take stereotypes and apply them to the whole, it is an ism. But they fail to understand when they use isms. Let's continue down. It just says Satan, one word. That doesn't infer anything to me, even if you take it in the context of all of this. You know, you may say that the Queen of England is a Satanist, or what happened to Princess Diana, or, you know, they're connecting things that aren't exactly related. And then, what political leaders worship Satan? This is an actual question. There are plenty of believers who believe in Satan as a deity or a god that they worship. That does not encompass certain sects of satanic religions which don't believe in Satan as a deity but are atheistic. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the faith of the different satanic religions, like the Temple of Set versus the Church of Satan versus other types of satanic religions. So they're kind of conflating things that were implied but not directly stated. Some things must remain classified to the very end. North Korea is not being run by Kim. Who's the director? Blah, blah, blah. So it says child abductions for satanic rituals, i.e. Haiti and other countries. So this is, so far what we've read, the most direct reference to say that Q believes that there are satanic rituals being performed on abducted children, which I don't doubt. There is hard evidence to prove that there are rituals that these people partake in that us common folk would be appalled by. Whether they're satanic rituals, whether they're an act or serious, is something to be determined in a court of law or something similar. You know, it's not up to me, but the fact that they are being ritualistic and going through these types of activities leads me to believe that they are practicing a ritual. So we've reviewed all of the ones that cover Satan. Many in our government worship Satan. This is just a fact. You could see that Chelsea Clinton wears an upside-down cross. You could see that there are plenty of people who are openly Satanists in our government, but they don't talk about it. Whether they're openly a Satanist and whether they talk about it are two different things. So I also want to remind people that Q often talks in metaphors and allegory to make people understand, kind of like how a good book does when you're reading it, to give you a way to relate these unthinkable acts and deeds to something that you can conceptualize in your head. Like that quote we read in the beginning when it says that fiction is just as powerful as fact. And this is where this comes in, is that sometimes introducing things as fiction gives people the opportunity to find the facts behind it. But nowhere in here does he say that there is an elite cabal of Satanist pedophiles. It may be slightly implied by 3 of the over, what are we at now? Almost 5,000 posts? Yeah, almost 5,000 posts. So the numbers, if we're going by statistics, just say that the overarching message isn't anything to do with Satanism or the satanic cabal. So the next keyword on the mainstream media is cabal. How do we spell cabal? C-A-B-A-L. Cabal. Cabal. Yep, I don't see anything about a cabal. So that just further reinforces the point that this does not exist. They are fabricating things to make you be afraid of looking into it, of driving fear into the narrative of Q so that people steer clear. The other one is pedo. They say that, you know, we think everyone's a pedo, from all of Hollywood to all our political leaders. Do I think some of them are pedos? You betcha. But do I think all of them are pedos? No. So pedo will encompass pedophile, pedophilia, any sort of reference to the word pedo. So let's just use our handy dandy search here. Go up to the top. This is torpedo. That's not a pedo. This is a link. Twitter allows pedophiles to discuss attraction to minors. This is factual. This isn't saying anything about the elite pedophiles. It's just saying facts. Twitter lets this happen. They let it openly happen because it seems like the elites are fine with it. Maybe it's a power trip. Maybe it's something else, kind of like, you know, bathhouses in Rome where the men would take advantage of these boys in this bathhouse for power. You know, maybe it's something like that. But that doesn't make it any better. So let's keep going. This seems to be a link regarding pedophilia. This is a link regarding pedophilia. Here's one where he actually mentions pedophilia, but it's in the context of a quote regarding Huber. And he says, they range from domestic terrorism to court authorized wiretaps of criminal organizations to child pedophiles and those who would exploit our children, criminal aliens, big fraud schemes. So this isn't, once again, this is not Q. This is a quote from another person, Huber. So let's continue about Q telling you that everything's a pedophile ring. Once again, a link. And then here, welcome to the No Borders, Pro-Pedo, Destroy ICE Socialist Movement. Antifa, arm of the Democratic Party, dark to light. And once again, this isn't Q saying they're all pedophiles. It's saying those people are okay with pedophilia. If they're saying no white supremacy, no pedo bashing, and no Cernovich, you know, like I could get behind two of those maybe. Just kidding, Mike. But the no pedo bashing, I can't get behind it. I'll bash pedos. I think they should be castrated. I'll tell you. I'll tell anyone. I think anyone who has unconsensual or even consensual sex with minors should be castrated. Especially if I know the minor. And I'd have no problem doing it myself. So, this is a question regarding the fact that it says, have you ever witnessed so many pedos / child exploiting people go down? And it's a question regarding the fact that Donald J. Trump has done more to stop and convict child sex trafficking than the last 4 presidents combined. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up. I promise you. It's 4 times more than the last 4 presidents combined. I think we do have a problem with pedophilia. And is that one of the main points of Q? No. But it is a big problem that most people could unite around. That pedophilia is bad. That pedos are bad. Here he just says pedo networks are being dismantled. It was clearly true between November 1st, 2017 and today. We have had, like I said, more pedophile rings busted under Donald J. Trump than the last 4 presidents. So it's not like he is, yeah, that's how I spelled it, C-A-B-A-L. Good. This is just factual that there are pedo networks that are being busted. It's not an opinion. And then who exposed the pedo networks within Hollywood? You'd have to go to this exact post to understand what was happening October 31st, 2017, and who this person was who was exposing it and whether they're alive or dead now. There's quite a few people who have been insiders and tried to expose it. I'll just name one. For example, Chris Cornell. He's a real big name. He was working on a movie to expose pedophilia within the music industry and the Hollywood culture. And, you know, I'm not 100% sure how he died, but I'm pretty sure it was along the lines of self-inflicted wound, two gunshots to the back of the head, something like that, or a red handkerchief. You know, you can go look it up yourself. Go find his movie that never got released regarding the elites and their pedophilia. But as far as we could gather from searching for pedophilia, pedophilic, you know, they all start with P-E-D-O. And we're not able to find an overarching message that says all of these people are pedophilic, all of these people are child exploiters, because it's just not true. They want you to believe that because it'll keep you away from it. Even though you have sympathy for these children, The fact that you might see child porn, or you might be in a situation where you might see something that you find to be uncomfortable, is enough to keep most people away. And they know this. And they exploit it for their own gain by labeling it satanic. That's scary. Pedophilic. That's scary. Anti-Semitic. You're not even allowed to mention anything about the Jews without getting in trouble. If I start talking about how they think that Q is involved in anti-Semitism, I wouldn't doubt it if this video goes down. But the fact is, Q is not anti-Semitic. Maybe the most anti-Semitic thing that was said by the Q character is that they're saving Israel for last. And I don't even know if I would consider that anti-Semitic. I would consider that Israel is one of the superpowers of the world, and that when you're felling a table or you're cutting down a tree, you clear the brush, and then you chop it from the bottom, and then you chop it up. And that's how you fell something. So they're just branding it with all the things that scare people. Anti-Semitic, pedo, Satanism, right-wing conspiracy theory. So that means only Nazis and skinheads are involved, right? Only Nazis, skinheads, people who could deal with Satanism, and people who are willing to look at children online. So it's everything that the common person fears of running into online and being involved with that they brand it as. So now that we know what they say is fake about it, let's dive into what they've gotten people to believe. And the big thing they've gotten people to believe is that Q is a cult. And the fact is, Q is not a cult. This is a recent post. It says, there is Q, there are Anons, there is no QAnon. And this goes to prove that it's not a cult, because in order to run an effective cult, you need membership list, you need money, you need Okay. Thank you, Miss B. I appreciate you stopping by. Good to see you. I understand what a cabal is. Let's not be confused. But the fact that Q hasn't mentioned a cabal, and that's all the mainstream media talks about, is the big issue. I hope you catch it later. I hope it's informative. Thank you, B. And then, to be a cult, you need membership, you need a leader. There is no membership. Anyone could be part of Q. If you think that there's a deep state, and that your freedoms are at risk, and that things that you do, or basically if you doubt anything that has been told in, the past 10 years that has been lies to the American people and exploits of the American people for the gain of the few, you're probably QAnon. You're probably an Anon who believes in Q. So Q hasn't asked you to believe anything either. A cult leader wants you to believe what they believe. They want you to follow their doctrine. They want you to follow their beliefs. But Q hasn't asked you to follow anything. He's asked you to seek. And seeking is not the same as following. For if you seek, you shall find. I think that's somewhere in the Bible. I'm not 100% sure. But seek and you shall find. And it's just very true. If you're looking for, corruption, you could probably find corruption. If you're looking for, bad actors within the state or the deep state, you'll definitely be able to find bad actors within the state or deep state. So it's all about seek and you shall find, and working together via open source information to let this stuff be known publicly, because the media works to cover it, the intelligence agencies work to cover it, the corporate oligarchy works to cover it, all in all together, whether they intentionally work together or it just happens. That's just how it works. So maybe we do need to be a cult, as in we all have like ideas and we want a common goal, but it's not a cult because we don't know the owner or the creator. We don't have to pay a membership fee. There's nothing that makes you in or out, as in or out group. The only people creating in and out groups related to Anons are the mainstream media. So, and then they also want you to believe that all Anons who follow Q or enjoy the Q drops or try to decode or fight for their future, they want you to believe that we all believe JFK is alive, that all the elites are sucking on adrenochrome and eating children, and that there's mole children underground. And the fact is, a lot of those ideas are fabricated and inserted into the movement more so than being from any sort of drop from Q or directly related to the actual operation. Once again, they're fabricating these lies to inject into Q, much like we're a right-wing conspiracy, and that we're fighting Satan-worshipping elite, and that everyone's a pedophile in the Democratic Party. These are all untruths that are based on a shred of evidence and blown out of proportion to make us look bad once again. And they do this intentionally. The other thing is that we are violent terrorists. We're just gonna pop over here real quick and we're just gonna read the first line of the actual board. So if we come here to where Q actually posts and we actually look at the information based on what actual Anons are saying, it says right here, the first post in every thread that's created on Q Research regarding Q, it says, we are researchers who deal in open source information, reason arguments, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas, and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here. Yet, the mainstream media continuously tells you how violent and evil we are. So, we're going to come over here to the Wikipedia, and these are incidents involving QAnon, as they call it. This guy, just because he used where we go one, we go all, bad man. Cement plant, Hoover Dam, targeting of Michael Avenatti, harassment of Jim Acosta, two bad men who get, special treatment. Grass Valley Charter School fundraiser, murder of Frank Cali, mob boss. This is the only one that may be related, that I could agree that they might be a little Q-ish. Kidnapping incidents. Some crazy woman decides to kidnap people here in Colorado and they want to blame it on Q. Jessica Prim, aggravated assault in Texas, misinformation in the 2020 Western United States wildfire season. Just blame it on Q. Not the people who set the fires, but whatever. Even though there was a plethora of evidence to support that Other people set those fires. Don't look here, look there. So one thing I want to focus on this Wikipedia, I want you to come here, if you can, and look for yourself. Where are we at? Yes, Kate? Yes, you could join us on 8kun.top. You could join us there. I dropped the link in chat for you. You can post anonymously. I recommend, if what you're saying is true, you use a few proxies and a VPN. And, take care of your own safety. But moving back on, I appreciate that, Kate. You just let me know if that's factual. We'd love to hear from you. Wonderful. Thank you, Ninja. I appreciate that. So we've covered what the mainstream media says, what many believe, and what they want you to believe regarding Q. And then I'm gonna here. Hold on. Let me pull this up so I could see you guys. I'm gonna tell you the truth about Q. The truth is, it is a psyop. Everyone gets all butthurt when you tell them it's a psyop. But most of life is a psyop. You turn on the TV, that's a psyop. You read a magazine, that's a psyop. All of it is vying for your time, effort, and such to paint a narrative for you that you can live in. And most of it's just not true. So life is a psyop. Q is a psyop. And understanding that most of what you experience in your daily life is a psyop, from the movie industry to the branding of even your coffee you like. All of it is employing the aspects of psychological operations to get the outcome they desire, whether it be sales, clicks, spread of information, whatever it is definitely a psyop that is being played against you from the newspapers, the mainstream media, everywhere you look around. There's just endless psychological operations happening to your left and your right. And the fact that Obama allowed propaganda to be used again on and against the American people reinforces that life is a psyop. And then we're going to pop back over here. Let me pull up my notes. I had another truth for you, actually. Okay, so the truth about QAnon is the goal of QAnon is to get regular people like you and me to look at the world around them and ask, is this the world we want to live in? Is there something I could do to stop the evil in the world? And the answer is yes. Simple. Use your voice and tell them. Tell everyone you know. Something is wrong. Scream it on a mountaintop. Get on camera and tell them. Go tell your friends. Go to the gym and let people know. The message is simple, guys. The people have the power. The people have the power. The people have the power. That's what where we go one, we go all is. That's what together we win is about. That's what unity is about. Is that we together, the people, have all of the possible power here in America. We elect these people. We ask them to represent us. It is our duty, if they do not represent us, to make them step down, to remove them from their positions. And let's see what else we got. I think that's all I got for today, guys, basically. I just wanted to get on and, kind of clear the air, or whatever you call it, regarding Q. Let you know, share this with your friends and family. We're at about an hour right now. I'm going to cut it off. I appreciate everyone coming out to listen to the question. I am at Babyfist if you want to contact me on Twitter, or you could reach our ABCU account at ABCU_8 on Twitter. But until next time, guys, I appreciate you.